broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of Dodgers Wrap 360. Right here on, that scared the hell out of me, the music, on AFTERBUZZ TV and AFTERBUZZTV.com. We were talking Los Angeles Dodgers baseball the last, I wouldn't say 7 days, the last 14 days.
We're coming in with the beats.
All right, here we go. Missed last week's show. We moved into a new studio here at AFTERBUZZ, a very nice studio for you folks at home if you're watching the video. It looks the exact same, but behind the scenes for the divas, among them myself, Bobby DeMuro, my co-host Mike Conley. We are divas. For the folks like us, big deal. We got a sink. We have water. We have they have air conditioning here. This is like a huge step up.
It's impressive. It's impressive. Kevin Yu is really stepping things up here over at AFTERBUZZ.
This is they got electricity. It's no longer the monkeys powering the bicycles.
Non-stop club beats also, evidently. I mean,
we run on club beats.
You know.
This is not exactly I Love LA, but I kind of would prefer this on a Dodgers win. Right. My big question for you is, will the Dodgers ever win again? I submit that no, they will not. They will never win. They'll go 0-162 next year.
Wow.
Bold prediction. I'm sticking by it.
And then move back to Brooklyn.
Yeah, that'll be the preemptive thing. They'll move back to Brooklyn.
I mean, Brooklyn is acquiring teams. Why wouldn't they want the Dodgers back?
I don't know that the hipster crowd in Brooklyn would support the Dodgers. I think they support the Nets because it's like the ironic thing to do right now.
I know.
I just don't feel like them supporting baseball. But the Dodgers are in Echo Park. They're in Los Feliz, and who lives there?
That's true. I do. Thanks for mentioning that.
We are way off topic. Hey, so custodial things, some to-do list stuff. Because we weren't here last week, we're going to talk very, very briefly about the last 2 weeks in Dodger baseball. Part of that is because we went to that 16-inning game. I went to all 3 games against the Rockies. I run a website about the Rockies. I kind of like the Colorado Rockies. So I went to all 3 games when they were here 2 weeks ago. But you and I went to that 16-inning game.
We did indeed.
What a cluster.
That was definitely the first game I've been to in LA that's rained.
Me too.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. We stuck it out. Though.
Here's the thing. There's a couple things I'm thinking. First off, you have to stick it out because the cardinal rule of going to a baseball game is you do not leave a baseball game. You don't leave early.
I think you and I feel that way as diehard baseball fans, but, a Dodger game, it's, coming the 3rd, leaving the 7th.
Dodger games are weird, and we've each been to dozens. I mean, I love Dodger Stadium; it's great. Mm-hmm. But Dodger games are weird because 50% of the fans are just like us, more so than us, the most knowledgeable, the most statistic, the most baseball folks, the smartest baseball minds, total diehards. Get there an hour before the game and stay after and everything. The other 50% are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they show up in the 3rd and they tweet the whole time, and I don't know if they see more than 3 pitches. And I know that's kind of true at every stadium a little bit, but I feel like because it's LA, Dodger Stadium is that on steroids.
Yeah. Is this the portion of the show where you try and boost our viewership by insulting people?
Yeah, I want to insult the casual. This show is probably not for the casual. No, but that's my point. Mm-hmm. No Dodger baseball show is for the really casual fan. Mm-hmm. You would watch the one highlight on ESPN if you're going to watch that, and then you go and move on to football or whatever the stupid people are watching nowadays.
Oh wow, that's a tase on me, folks. We also ran into one of those diehards.
We did. Now, see, that's a diehard. That's somebody who listens to the show, goes to all the games.
Yeah.
And she had an excuse. She left early, but she had little kids with her.
She did.
That is my one excuse. Josie Bello, by the way, who tweets us all the time.
What's up, Josie? Absolutely. Thanks for saying hello at the game.
She walked up to us and she was like, "It's Mike and Bobby." And we were not ready for that.
Wow.
We were like, yes, it is.
You're the one who listens.
No, but she had an excuse. I'm glad we're on this topic because this is more important than baseball.
Okay.
when you have little kids, that's your one excuse. You have another human being that can't take care of itself. You have a 2-year-old or whatever, like her nieces and nephews and stuff. That, yeah, you got to leave then. But if it's you and you alone, or you're on a date and your date's like 6th inning is like, hey, I'm done. You'd like, no, you need to take an Uber home because I'm staying till the 9th.
Boom.
You know,
that's what I'm talking about. I mean, what's the age cutoff before you send the kid home?
Ooh, that's a good. Well, wait a second. Before you send the kid home in an Uber, I think it's 4. I think a 4-year-old can figure out Uber for themselves.
All right. Yeah.
No, that's tricky with the age cutoff of the kids. But I'm telling you, man, you can't leave games early. And you know why? Because that 16-inning game, the Dodgers lost it. But honestly, it counts as a loss, of course. But in your mind, it shouldn't count as a win or a loss. That's a life experience. That game, when you get past about the 11th or 12th, that becomes a life experience. It's one of those things you're like, dude, 5 years from now, the Dodgers are going to play an 18-inning game. And you're going to say, hey, man, I remember the last insane game they played. I was there.
Yeah.
And
what's your excuse leaving the 18-inning game early? We were at the 16-inning game, and it was pouring rain.
Pouring rain all night. It was a Tuesday night. What was it? Tuesday.
Tuesday.
It was Tuesday night. We had work in the morning, and by work, I mean neither one of us had work the next day.
No.
So we were sleeping until noon the next day. I mean, really, really giving one for the team.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we were able to pull out the W for the Dodgers that night, but
they got the other 2. They took 2 out of 3 against the Rockies. Didn't get that one. That's a loss that hurts. But here's the thing: when you're in expanded rosters in September, each team used 8 pitchers, 9, 10 pitchers, 1 inning a pop. So it wasn't that bad of a situation. Could have been worse.
Gone are those days of those bullpens that can throw. A guy in the bullpen comes and throws 3 innings,
Dennis Eckersley is not here anymore.
Oof.
And even he was the first guy who was like a 1 or 1 1/3 guy.
Yeah.
But those dudes ain't here anymore.
The Spocky Lyles of their time.
It kills me. It's totally not off the subject, but we're already off the subject, so let's keep going.
I mean, you know how I like to not stay on subject.
You'll like this story as a Red Sox fan, and Dodgers fans will like this story because it brings up one of the greatest moments in Dodgers history.
Okay.
Kirk Gibson's home run in 1988 in Dodger Stadium against the Oakland A's, Game 1 of the World Series. When he hit it, I don't know if you've ever seen the full inning. Have you ever seen the video of the full inning of Kirk Gibson's home run? It's on YouTube.
I mean, when it was live. I was watching.
Watch it again.
Okay.
Because you're old. That's true. I was 2 when it happened.
All right.
You were 15? 20?
14.
Were you drinking?
Might have been.
Maybe.
We get started early back home.
But the full inning in south side of Boston, right?
Oh, boy.
The full inning there, Vin Scully, of course, because Vin Scully's been around forever. And Eckersley comes in, and Scully makes a note. I believe he's with, I want to say Joe Garagiola.
Joe Garagiola, yeah.
Is
that
color.
Seems to be the time.
But Scully makes a note, or maybe Garagiola does, that Eckersley's one of these newfangled pitchers. He comes in for a save. He gets like an inning. He gets 4 outs, 3 or 4 outs. He never goes 2 or 3 innings. I'm serious. You should hear it. That's like when the change started.
Wow.
And I'm watching that as a, less than 30-year-old. Yeah. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, what's this guy talking about? And then I remember, well, wait a second. It's almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Back then, pitchers, you'd have one really good bullpen arm and just throw him.
Right.
Nowadays, it's like, why would you use your closer for more than one?
Yeah. And especially with like the implosion of this bullpen, it's like if you have a guy out there that has good stuff that day and is effective, why not leave him out there for a second inning? I mean, I know everybody's not, Craig Breslow and can give you 4 strong, but I mean, at least leave a guy out there for 2 innings.
That's why having like a Juan Nicasio, we'll just really roundabout back to the team.
Okay.
That's why having Juan Nicasio, who's been a starter, not a good starter, but he's been a starter, he's been extended. Mm-hmm. If he has and he's done this, he's done middle relief where he's thrown 2 and 3 innings rarely.
Yeah.
But those are the kind of guys you want, because Jansen's not going to go more than 1. Jansen's like a max effort 1. Would he do 2 in the playoffs? Probably.
Right.
But even then,
And Nicasio was one of these guys that I was kind of hoping was going to step up too,
Yeah.
Being into a reliever role, get those couple extra ticks up on the fastball, and he's got a nice arm, and he looks like at times where he's untouchable, and then there's other times where he grooves it, and it's just like you need consistency out of that spot. I was really hoping at some point, like, he was going to emerge, and maybe like a Yimi Garcia, who I like out there at times.
He kind of emerged. Garcia kind of emerged, I think.
Yeah, he got out of that jam the other night. I think it was Friday night, but he came in and pitched pretty well in that game. So.
And then Saturday gave up the Bombski, walk off.
Oh boy, so that's the the consistency we're talking about, or the lack thereof.
But he's not. He's not Jim Johnson.
He's certainly not Jim Johnson.
And on this team,
Jim Johnson, he should go the way of Matt Latos. He should, just.
So let's just jump on that right now, actually, because this was big news this week for Dodgers folks. Latos was DFA'd after he gave up Arenado's homer in the 16th. He gets DFA'd a couple days later. Just on the 25th, I believe, 2 or 3 days ago, was officially released. That is admitting failure at a significant rate. He was traded for 2 months ago, right at the deadline.
Yeah,
didn't hardly last 60 days in the Dodgers uniform.
I mean, like the day he got DFA'd, I was thinking that too. It's like, oh, well, how did they do in that trade and all that stuff? But Wood had just pitched that gem, like that 2-hitter versus Colorado, right? And it's like, okay, well, it's worth, tasting it on Jim Johnson and Latos as long as Wood's gonna, put forth that type of effort and cement himself as a number 3, that you need. But he proceeded to shit on himself a couple stops after that.
And he's been and that's the thing.
But he's still probably the number 3 just because nobody else is emerging.
And that's what's so wrong, because Anderson's gotten so cold, Bolsinger's gotten so cold. Wood is your default number 3 when he's really a number 4 or 5. And a good number, I'm not knocking him at all, but he's not your playoff number 3 behind Greinke and Kershaw. He shouldn't be. He's going to end up being that guy.
Not right now, but I think he's still young enough where I think he could be, a good piece for the Dodgers' future,
I think he's a decent, he's a decent trade.
He could be a number 3 spot.
But the other guys they get back, Jim Johnson, Latos, obviously.
Right.
Luis Avalon, nothing special.
Right.
Absolutely nothing special.
And I thought he was going to be decent.
Yeah.
Lefty arm out of the pen, had a decent year a couple of years ago, but they just haven't been able to get any consistency out of that position. I mean, J.P. Howell for like the first 4 months of the season was pretty consistent, and then he kind of went in the tank. But he's showing something now a little bit. But
I'm telling you, it's going to bite the Dodgers in the ass. I think we talked about this right when it happened. We should have if we didn't. Paco Rodriguez, tough to give up Paco. I know he's been injured. He's been up and down a little bit. Kind of that's a numbers game, not him pitching well.
Yeah.
But he's been up and down in AAA. But I really like Paco, man.
Yeah. Well, he's gonzo. I mean,
Paco is gonzo.
And he's, he was effective there for a while, and then Mattingly just pitched him.
Yeah.
And then, like, okay, he got hurt. Now we trade him. That's what happens. Once you get a guy out of the bullpen that's doing pretty good, you pitch him until he's done.
Yeah.
That's how Mattingly operates.
And if done never happens, he becomes your closer. He becomes Kenley Jansen. Okay, so Dodgers go 2-1 against the Rockies the first series a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Then they go 1-2 against the Pirates. I'm sorry, the Pirates are a better team. Period. Point blank.
They really are.
Pirates probably have better pitching top to bottom. Dodgers have the best 1-2 in baseball. No one's going to debate that. Beyond that, though, Pirates have a better bullpen. Pirates have better pitching top to bottom. Pirates probably have, I don't know how you'd say, more timely hitting or maybe a deeper lineup, but I feel like with Seager and some of these guys up, the Dodgers are pretty deep. But overall, I'm looking at these two teams together, and I'm thinking Pittsburgh's going to take a best of 7 if these two face each other.
Yes, and it's when I look throughout all the teams, and you're not really going to like to hear this, Dodger fans, but as I look throughout all the teams that are going to make the playoffs, they all seem to have that extra little something, that mystique. The Dodgers don't have any mystique right now, I mean, St. Louis has it because they've just, had an incredible track record for the past 15, 20 years, and they are the blueprint of Major League Baseball of what you want your organization to be. So they're there. But even the Mets, who don't have that playoff, mojo recently, they have that little extra something, that like, ever since Cespedes kind of brought it up.
I was thinking Bartolo Colon, but I'm with you.
You know how much I love Bartolo.
They've got that big extra something.
Oh boy, and they sure do. And and the Pirates certainly have it. And it's just the Dodgers. They seem to have the 2 studs and get by on that in a 162 game season, and then it's like they don't. There's bullpen questions. There's questions about, inconsistency and timely hitting. And, and it's, no mystique.
And the bats disappear. The bats come alive. They're the best home run hitting team in the National League. Every offensive stat, their average dropped a ton the last couple of weeks. They're now 10th in batting average, but they get on base better than anybody. They slug second best in the league, second best in OPS, first in homers. They get the most walks in the league. Any stat, you're like, you can't complain.
Right.
But then there'll be like 2 or 3 or 4 games, especially against good pitching, which you will see in the playoffs, where they just disappear. And it takes everything to win a 2-1 game, or what happened to Zach Greinke earlier in the year, get a lot of no decisions, get a lot of 1-0 losses, a lot of 2-1 tough losses. I kind of agree with you. I don't know how to define the mystique thing, but the Dodgers right now are certainly backing into the playoffs. They will make it. It will take the Giants a miracle. The Giants would have to literally win every game on out,
right?
Just to be safe. And even then, even if they did, the Dodgers can still win the series with San Diego after this Giants series, and the Dodgers can still clinch.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see the Giants sweep, though. I mean,
that would make things very interesting.
It would make them interesting.
That would make things interesting and terrible for the Dodgers. It'd put the bad, damper on the season at the worst possible time.
Yeah.
Does it get lower? Let me ask you this then, to jump ahead to this week. The Dodgers split with Arizona, which is disappointing at home. Arizona's not going anywhere. Arizona's got some guys who are really pretty decent. Ruby De La Rosa is better than people realize. Robbie Ray's better than people realize. Even
like Robbie Ray.
You don't go 2-2 against Arizona in Dodger Stadium when you've played them so well all year. That's disappointing. And then you go to Colorado and you get swept.
That's unbelievable.
Rocky's Bobby is jumping up and down. Holy crap! But I mean, realistic Bobby. I mean, it's nothing against. I'm not trying to crap on the Dodgers with it. It's surprising. That should not happen.
Yeah.
You lose 1, I'm with it. It's tough to play on the road. Maybe you lose 2, I'm with it. But you come back today on Sunday and get blown out. That's really disappointing. And yet here we are.
I can't. I mean, I could see the split with the Diamondbacks just because Diamondbacks have a pretty formidable lineup. But I mean, Colorado, they're like 24 games out of first or something. I mean,
Colorado threw Chad Bettis, David Hale, and Chris Russin this weekend. And I know the Dodgers didn't throw Greinke or Kershaw. Greinke took a start off with the calf strain, and he should be back, and there should be no problem next week. But I'm sorry. You're throwing Brett Anderson, who up until the last 2 weeks has really been solid this year. You're throwing Bolsinger, up until the last 2 weeks has really been solid this year. And then you throw Alex Wood, who's been kind of hit or miss, but overall pretty solid, against Hale and Russin and Chad Bettis. I like Bettis a lot. Nobody knows him besides the Rockies. He's not on a national level. Hale and Russin are replacement guys. That's unconscionable.
If there isn't, this isn't a telltale sign of the state of the affairs of the Dodgers, then I don't know what is. If Kershaw and Greinke don't go, they're in trouble.
They are. And the Rockies have the formidable lineup in Denver, but you got to match them. They matched them on Saturday night. Yeah. They didn't do so well on Friday and Sunday. Sunday was a disaster. Yeah. Is this... Okay, so here's a question, because getting swept by the Rockies is bad. Rockies haven't swept the Dodgers since September 18 to 20, 2007. What was happening September 18 to 20, 2007?
I remember that because the World Series champions that year were the one hometown Boston Red Sox.
Who'd they play in the World Series?
They played the Colorado Rockies. I was at Game 1 and Game 2.
How did the Rockies get to that World Series?
They ripped off like 20 out of 22 or 21 out of 22 to get into that.
They took 21 of 22. That September 18 to 20 sweep of the Dodgers at Coors Field was at the very start of that 21 of 22.
Oh, got them off.
That was a day where Takashi Saito, you remember the closer, Saito?
Takashi Saito, yes.
He came in for the Dodgers on the first game of a doubleheader. Todd Helton hit a walk-off home run against him and went berserk. Todd Helton never showed any emotion. Todd Helton went berserk.
Yeah.
And I was watching at the time and I was like, maybe there's something here. This is different. That was the thing. That was the week. Dodgers fans, I'm sure, remember it because they weren't in it at that point, but you couldn't forget a series like that. That was a big series for Colorado.
Yeah.
The Rockies haven't swept them since then. And here we are.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, because that Rockies team was obviously quite formidable.
They were good. They were legitimately good. Hot streak aside, that was a good team. This team is not.
Yeah.
Is this the low point for the Dodgers season? Or, according to you, is the low point still coming this week?
It could be. It could be coming. I mean, because they're obviously, it's the end of September and you're not playing your best baseball.
Yeah.
And you would like to see some other people step up so it isn't such a reliance on the two horses, because especially with Kershaw's performance in the playoffs the past 2 years, I don't want to hop on it, but we have to see it out of him, and to have him produce in the playoffs before we can really, feel good. And you'd like to have him going in under, a nice bed of freshly played baseball. That's a terrible analogy, but you'd like to see them playing good and like other guys, contributing to wins other than, going in with all of this on his shoulders, which he has, him and Greinke. So, and I think you kind of see him kind of fraying a little bit. He kind of blew up the other day.
That's what I was going to ask you about.
In the post-game comments.
That's what's going to happen. Now, he goes 5 against the Diamondbacks. This was the game where they scored 6 runs in the bottom of the 5th.
Right.
Should he have gone longer? Because he came up to bat in the middle of the rally. Should he have gone longer, or was Don Mattingly right to take him out?
I think Mattingly was right to take him out. It's like he had been getting hit around a little bit. His pitch count was at 80. You got to kind of go for the runs at that point, when you have a rally. And, so what's he going to do? Pitch one more inning, and then he's at 100 pitches, it was at a point in the year, too, where it's like, okay, maybe getting him a couple 80-pitch starts isn't the worst thing that can happen.
You're not going to sell him out and give him 120 pitches in a game you don't need anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think he's got to chill a little bit, and maybe this is just a kind of a sign of him coming apart at the seams a little bit, but he should take a little notes off of Greinke, and just be smooth, calm, and collected, and, almost like, he's got a little something missing upstairs sometimes. Greinke in those post-game
Greinke's a different cat.
I kind of like it too, I'm just like, okay, and he's just not rattled, and he's like kind of thinking, he's like really giving the question a lot of thought, and it's like, and then Kershaw, it's like, be happy, you won the game, you got a vulture win out of it, and then he like jumps down the reporter's throat. It's like, squash that thing right there. Don't say, oh, do you have a baseball question? Because that's gonna like make it fester into something. He could have summed that up right there. He's like, hey, I'm a competitor, I never want to come out of the game, he's my manager, I have a great relationship to him, we talk very frankly, that you guys saw that in the dugout, this is what happens in a major league dugout, it's going to stay between me and Donnie, boom, and just squash it. But he was like, I don't know, a little spoiled bratish, kind of, he's
or feeling the nerves. I mean, we've talked about this
saying.
before. I think Kershaw absolutely does not care about what fans and analysts think about his playoff record.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Kershaw cares what Kershaw thinks about his playoff record. He doesn't watch this. He doesn't watch ESPN. He's not going to watch any of the people talking about it. But he knows deep down that he hasn't been good in the playoffs.
No, he watches. He tweeted me.
If he watches, he should have said hi to us at that 16-inning game.
Oh, man. Yeah, he should have.
Here's something non-Kershaw, but Kershaw-related.
Okay.
Brett Anderson, Mike Bolsinger, over the last 7 days, 4 starts combined.
Oof.
0-3. 17 innings in 4 starts. Nothing like getting that good old depth.
Oof.
17 innings in 4 starts. They have given up 32 hits, 8 home runs, 18 earned runs, 8 walks, and only 8 strikeouts.
Is it too late to get Matt Latos back?
Can we re-sign him for the minimum prorated?
Somebody go down to the bus station and have him not get on that bus real quick.
I think the prorated league minimum after the release right now for Latos, they would pay him $140.
Yeah.
You wouldn't pay him anything. Is it too late to get anybody?
Really, that might have been a hasty move, DFA and Latos, because it's like, these other guys aren't showing any type of consistency, so he can like mix in one good start out of every 3, the same thing these guys are doing. It's like, why is his shot all of a sudden limited?
Well,
these guys aren't seizing it.
The issue was they needed the roster spot for Carlos Frias. Okay. But then you wonder, could you have done this anywhere else? Pitching is such a weak spot. Could you have moved anybody besides a pitcher? And the answer apparently is no.
I don't understand why there's such a roster strain. You got 40-man roster.
Well, Frias came off the 60-day, though. Okay. So he was on the 60-day DL, so he wasn't on the 40. So they filled their 40, and then they said, wait a second, we got this other guy we want.
Gotcha.
And then they just waited and said, we have more faith in Frias potential than Latos current. Right. And Frias did okay. Frias started a couple games ago, only went 4 innings, still building himself up. did fine.
Oh.
I don't believe I trust him at all in the playoffs this year. But I think down the road, I think Frias is a little better than I thought he was. If you'd asked me a year ago about Carlos Frias, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
He's had a pretty decent year for where he came from. I
Right.
think he's probably a little bit better future-wise.
Yeah.
He's no ace, but...
And quite frankly, we have to see what happens here in the next week and a half to see who is going to be that number 3, because it's certainly not clear cut. And it could have been Matt Latos or some of the guys he's hanging out with down at the U-Haul place. But and one of these guys could emerge and be a number 3 starter. But past the 2 studs, they don't really have anybody, or it seems like anybody that wants it.
Who's your number 3? Playoff start today. Dodgers face the Mets, which they probably will, in Shea Stadium, which they probably will. I guess number 3 will be pitching in Dodger Stadium because 1 and 2 are going to be in Shea.
Yeah.
Who is your number 3?
I mean, at this point, by default, it's going to be Wood.
Do you do it this way? Whichever way you put them, would you do Kershaw, Greinke, Kershaw, Wood, Greinke, Kershaw, Greinke in a 7-game series? So
Wow.
you flip Greinke and Kershaw on short rest once and only have your number 3 go 1 time.
So someone would be going on three days rest, on
And
one of those?
then on the back end, the other guy goes on 3 days rest. So Kershaw, Greinke, Kershaw, blank, Greinke, Kershaw, Greinke.
No, I mean,
Too much?
and you can't go in with that as your strategy, But if it shakes out where, I don't think you can do that. I mean, you just hope you get those first 2, and then just somebody out of the next 2 pulls a start right out of his.
So you're hoping? Are you trying to start 3 or are you trying to start 4 in a 7-game series? If you're trying to start 4, I'm done.
No.
You got to start 3.
Just got to start 3.
So it's got to be Kershaw, Greinke, or Greinke, Kershaw, Wood.
Right.
Greinke, Kershaw, Wood.
But I would be, if they got the first 2, I would be tempted to go with 4 guys.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Remember, you might have these first 2 on the road.
it's true.
The way it's looking right now.
It's true.
Okay.
It's probably going to be on the road. I mean, especially with the Dodgers playing the way they are right now.
And the Mets doing what they
got
are.
a couple games up on them. So, I mean, it's not like they're not playing for anything. I mean, they're playing for their playoff lives, and then to try and get home field in that first series. I mean, that's worth playing for.
Is this all going to be worthwhile when on Tuesday or whatever day it ends up being, the Dodgers clinch the NL West in San Francisco against the Giants?
Yeah. I mean, that'll be. I mean, as a pure baseball fan, I want some of these races to go down in the final days. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say I'm rooting for a giant sweep, but I kind of am a little bit.
Oh man, you were the wrong guy for this.
I am terrible. I am so bad. Sorry, Dodgers.
Listen, man,
fans.
I'm happy with the Dodgers going undefeated the rest of the way. The Rockies got what they got. I'm good. No, I'm just.
There you go.
I think okay. So we've established they've got to do 3 in the playoffs. I really think that Kershaw, Greinke, Kershaw thing is something.
I like that.
But they've got to do 3 in the playoffs. The 3 has to be Wood. There's nobody else it can be. I liked Wood over Anderson to begin with a little bit, and Anderson the last 2 weeks has been
Took himself out of it.
absolutely awful.
Yeah.
And Wood hasn't been amazing sometimes, but Anderson has been bad.
Yeah. At least Wood had that one amazing start. So there's something in recent recollection that you can kind of point to, like maybe this guy has something. But
And, I mean, remember, Wood had that really good start against Colorado. Colorado hits the ball. Even if it was in Dodger Stadium, Colorado's a good offensive team. The Mets are not. The Mets pitch very well. Mets don't hit at all, with Cespedes aside. So
Cespedes has kind of got that team
Yeah,
a little bit invigorated.
but they're still not doing-
Duda is back and he's hitting.
I have little faith in Lucas Duda, but okay.
He's a kind of streaky guy, and he's on a hot streak right now.
Does he have 20, 25? How many bombs does he have?
Yeah, he's probably in the low 20s. Probably got about 22-ish.
He's kind of an Adam Dunn-ish guy. Not quite that far, but that's
Does he
what
strike out as much as Dunn?
I don't think so, but that's what he always reminds me of. That kind of guy that you're always chasing with money, but he's never quite as good as you need him to be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those guys in baseball.
Mike Napoli?
Like who?
Mike Napoli?
No, that's a different kind of guy. That's a guy whose career's almost over.
We went through the whole Red Sox show. You didn't have a Napoli coming. He's hitting pretty good for the Rangers.
Here's my other
about
question.
290 for them.
Here's my other question for you.
Okay.
Damn it, Mike.
Oh, sorry.
Dodgers lineup, ideal playoff lineup. Forget hand, forget facing a righty or a lefty.
Okay.
Who plays in the field? Who's your ideal lineup for the Dodgers come playoff time?
This is a question I was going to ask you, because there's really, you got to Kendrick, and you got to play Seagan, man.
I agree completely.
Play Seagan,
I agree.
And then Turner at third.
Yeah.
You know,
Gonzo, obviously, I think Grandal behind the plate. Obviously, and I know it's going to depend on handedness of pitcher, who's pitching for the Dodgers, but Grandal gives you your best chance to win. AJ Ellis hadn't been as bad lately as he's been early on, but still.
He kind of took a little bit of a downturn this past week, but he was hitting pretty good for 3 or 4 weeks there. He kind of came around, and you got to really kind of ride that guy when he's hitting, because he's not that good a hitter. But Grandal is not hitting the ball either, though.
No, but that's relative to Ellis,
Yeah.
I feel better faith in Grandal in the All-Star season. I know he's faded a little bit from the first half, but I still have a better optimism.
I still think Ellis catches Kershaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
outfield.
Outfield. Oh, man. Well, obviously Ethia.
In right.
And then it's like, what about Kike? What's his deal?
I was going to say, I'll be the bad guy. He's coming back this week in San Francisco.
Okay.
I'll be the guy, Kike in center.
Right?
Let him play 5 games, whatever it's going to take this week, rehab-wise. Put him in center field.
Yeah, why not?
Jock was 1 for the week heading into Sunday.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot to him. He's streaky anyways.
Exactly.
Put Kike in.
And it's like, it's nice to have a 25 bomb guy to come off the bench, and just, and maybe he can like light a fire under you, I mean, I like the kid's defense, but yeah, he's just too inconsistent with the bat. And it seemed like a couple weeks he was coming out of it too, he started taking balls the other way, and I was like, all right, maybe this guy's going to come up. And then, he has been kind of a turd this past week, but he is a rookie, and then left. What do you like, Crawford?
Love to see me a little Justin Ruggiano. No, I think you got to go.
You got to have him in there versus lefties.
Or I mean, Scott Van Slyke. The question is, how do you construct a playoff roster with these guys? Because Scott Van Slyke, I kind of like too, but I think Crawford's probably
too.
their guy.
And then Guerrero shows me good stuff now and again too.
I'm done with Guerrero. I've been done with Guerrero. I think Guerrero was a mistake from day one, from signing day one. Yeah, I'm done with Guerrero. Now, granted, Guerrero's career was altered when Miguel Olivo bit his ear off. Because Guerrero was hitting 350 in AAA, and Miguel Olivo bit his ear off however many weeks into last season, missed the rest of the year, was about to get called up, nothing. Do you remember that?
Wow.
Do you remember that?
I do not. Miguel Olivo, the catcher?
Yes.
The catcher?
Okay, so the Dodgers are in Oklahoma City in AAA now. Last year they were in Albuquerque.
Okay.
Olivo was down in AAA. Guerrero was down there. He had not yet made his Major League debut, I believe. And it was in, I want to say like June. It was kind of in the middle of the season, but not so deep in. And they got in a fight in the dugout. They got in a fight on the field, like a verbal altercation. And then it carried back into the dugout after the pitching change, after the inning ended.
Wow.
And they went at each other. And Olivo bit Guerrero's ear, like bit part of his ear off.
Wow.
And Guerrero, like I guess when you lose part of your ear, you lose like balance,
equilibrium.
It messes with your equilibrium or something. And so they were like, well, he's going to be out for a few months. And I remember being like, how? Just sew it back? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But I guess it's really messed up. Besides, aside from the fact that Olivo's pretty messed up to do that.
Wow.
And then Miguel Olivo was released. He's playing in Tijuana right now. I think he was playing in Tijuana last I saw.
Man.
And Alex Guerrero's never quite been the same.
Wow. That explains it. I mean, you just got to take a little something off the other ear and
even it out.
Yeah, even it out a little bit.
This man is not a doctor.
But I would play one on TV. Code Black.
So yeah.
Give me a holler.
I don't know where the hell to go from that. I could have made a joke, and I'm not going to do it.
I mean, because the thing is I really love having Utley to come off the bench and pinch hit. Having like a veteran guy to do that. Less so a little bit about Rollins, but I just Seager crushing it, and you just got to roll with these youngsters, just keep on. Oh, you just don't want to spook them. You just want to leave them be, give them their 4 at-bats, and like see what they do, and granted, if he falters, you got a great, backup plan, a guy who plays solid defense for you, a good veteran, but he's a good veteran presence. He should be able to eat it and sit on the bench and show what it's like to be a team player.
Who, Rollins?
Rollins.
And Utley, but I think Utley knows that.
Utley knows that. Utley knows that. And he's coming down. And Kendrick's one of your better hitters. He's having a good year for you, so he's going to be back in there.
And, of course, Agon at first. I think that's the biggest compliment you can get is we didn't talk about you because nobody's taking your spot. You're so damn consistent, and there's no question.
Yes, but he's kind of been faltering lately. So you definitely got to get him back hitting. I mean, if there's one guy you can point to in that lineup that is going to be a pillar of consistency and is like a professional hitter, it's him. And he's also a stud defensively. So he's the guy you just ink in every day in that 3-hole and you just don't worry about. There's times when you start worrying about it is when he, puts up clunkers, like this past week, he's hitting 270. Oh, no. That's for the year. But
he's 2 for 16 last week?
Yeah, 2 for 16. Yeah. So he's got to turn it around because that's the guy that you are expecting a multiple hit game from every night, and you're going to have to get that in the playoffs in order to have any type of success. But, yeah, you got to play Seager, man. You got to play Seager.
I think you got to play Seager, too, and I'll tell you this, and this is very hard to come across to folks who haven't seen it or lived it. If you are a viewer and you've played baseball at a high level, and I don't mean the big leagues, I mean after high school, if you've played in junior college or college recently, all these guys, all these very, very top prospects, Seager, this is why I mention this, even Jock Peterson, these guys have been under the gun since they were about 14 because you play on AAU teams and traveling teams. You go to a showcase every weekend. You do all these high school showcases. You do all these college showcases. You have tons of scouts watching you all the time. Both these guys are high schoolers, drafted out of high school. You had tons of scouts watching. They're probably playing 100 games a year as 17-year-olds. I know it's not the Major League Baseball playoffs. You can't compare those two things. But these guys have been under pressure for a long time. And whenever I hear people say, well, the pressure of the playoffs, it is another level. But I think you almost underestimate how much pressure these guys have been under and have already passed.
Yeah.
Does it mean they're going to succeed in the postseason? No, there's not a bearing on the two. But it does mean that they're not going to get out there and wet their pants.
Yeah.
They've been in places like this before on a slightly smaller level.
Right.
They have.
And you want to keep it consistent. He's been having success here. You want to change as little as possible. So by taking him all of a sudden now to him pulling out of the bench and putting Rollins back in there and maybe he gets a start in game 4, that's changing things up. Just don't even tell him it's the playoffs. Just have him keep mashing, have him keep hitting, and then that's what you do with youth. You just throw them out there, and sometimes they're so young and dumb, the moment doesn't faze them, and they have a great playoffs. That's what happened with Bogarts in 2013.
That's it. And that's the other thing with you. Speaking of the playoffs with youth, if you're the front office in the Dodgers, and you would never ever admit this, right now better than anybody in the world, and everybody in the world knows it, you don't have the pitching to win a World Series. Behind Greinke and Kershaw, you do not have the pitching. Behind those two and Kenley Jansen, everything in between, not even close. Could you do it? I mean, crazy things happen. I guess you could. Yeah. But it's not going to happen. So if you're the Dodgers front office, do you say, you know what? Let's play Jock. Let's play Seager. Let's play our exciting young guys who are our prospects. Let's just let them figure it out this year. And we will be back next year, the following year, whatever, with them again and again and again. And this is their dress rehearsal. And you never admit that. You're trying to win in the playoffs. But I think
a preseason playoff run?
I think you let these guys play because deep down, if you hide them because you're worried about it and you want to win a World Series, you don't have the pitching to win a World Series. Yeah. It's not going to happen. So what are you going to do? You're going to not have the pitching anyways. You're going to not play these guys so they don't learn anything for next year. You're going to play Jimmy Rollins, who's not going to be around next year.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Why not stick Seager in the fire and see what he can do?
I'm definitely sticking Seager in the fire and see what he can do. But it isn't because I'm throwing in the towel on this playoff run.
No, but I'm not saying
the kid rakes.
I'm not saying throwing in the towel, but I am saying being realistic about where you are. There's a difference between throwing in the towel and being realistic. You're not the best team in the National League. Yeah. Could you make it? Sure. Crazy things happen. You're not the best team.
It's true, but I don't stop Jock. I mean, he's just too inconsistent right now. And to say, okay, we don't have the pitching, every playoff season is a one unto itself, So, if Kershaw shows up like regular season Kershaw and is that dominant, you want to be able to get some runs for him, and sticking a guy up there that's, won for his last 20, and, it's just...
What happens when Francisco Liriano beats Kershaw because it happened last week? You know, you better get. The thing is, you have to get all 4 Greinke Kershaw games because the other 3, who knows what the hell's going to happen.
And that's the thing. It's like the Pirates, that mystique we spoke about earlier. You know, it's like they can get these guys like Liriano, who was like a retread. I mean, the guy was almost out of baseball, you know, and then to get him to come back and to be as dominant as he is, the same thing with Burnett. What they're getting out of Burnett.
Burnett's arm fell off.
Yeah.
Little known fact, his arm fell off in July. They sewed it back on, and he's doing like he's pitching. He's not great, but he's pitching.
Yeah. And Melanson, I mean, the Red Sox got rid of him for a song, you know. I mean, it's like, wow. I mean, he couldn't pitch at all, and he puts on those
and some of those setup guys no one's ever heard of. The middle reliever Caminero throws 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Tony Watson's one of the best setup people in baseball. You'd never hear of him if you didn't watch the Pirates in the last week, like I did.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of these guys, they have a stacked bullpen.
We have to worry about the Mets.
The Mets have a stacked rotation too.
They do, but their bullpen can be had. Their bullpen is somewhat suspect.
Yeah.
And what's his name? One of their effective relievers is suspended, right, for the playoffs.
Mejia?
Is it Mejia
Or the other guy?
Familia? It's one.
Not
of those
Familia.
guys.
It's Mejia.
It's Mejia.
Yeah. I know it's not Familia.
Yeah, it's not.
But the Mets have a great rotation. They've got a young rotation, even without Matt Harvey. You need Matt Harvey, but even without him, with DeGrom and Syndergaard, Bartolo, come on.
Yeah.
Who else is up right now for them?
That's
Matz.
Steven Matz. Yeah.
There's another one I'm forgetting. John Neese has been doing well for them, but he's not a playoff starter.
No.
But they're just, it's insane.
Yeah. So I'm eager to see who they're going to put in their pen out of those studs to be like a stud 8th inning guy. You know,
Would you put Harvey? Would you put Harvey in the pen to protect him? This is not Mets Wrap 360, but I just got that idea.
Yeah.
If he's concerned about innings limits, like he so famously has been.
Yeah, I mean, they're also concerned about innings limits on Syndergaard and Matz too, you know, and what's his name ain't playing the other kid. Won't they get Wheeler back next year too?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep. Yeah, they refused.
Stacked.
Everybody called about Wheeler this winter, and they were, or this trade deadline in July, and they were like, no, not gonna happen.
They do have a bevy of, and that's kind of what you got to do. I mean, who do the Dodgers have that can be those studs come up? Urias. And that's about it. So they're going to have to start stocking that farm system.
Can't you just not wait to see how the Mets are going to screw this one up? That's the saving grace for the Dodgers. They're playing the Mets.
Yeah, that is the saving grace for the Dodgers.
I mean, I hate to say that, but let's face facts. I'm surprised the Mets have finished so strongly and didn't fade at the end like they did so many times.
Yeah, I was expecting them to fade. I was expecting the Cubs to fade, and both those teams are playing good baseball. You know, I mean, the shot in the arm for the Mets was definitely Cespedes. I mean, that was the guy's just been raking.
Yeah, not the National League MVP. Let's just get that out there right now. But certainly one of those guys we've talked about on this show, CC Sabathia in 2008 with the Brewers when he went like 13-1 or whatever.
Yeah.
Cespedes is another one of those memorable trade deadline deals that wasn't just like pretty good on a new team, but totally changed the new team completely.
Yeah,
that's rare.
David Price on the pitching side this year too.
Yeah, that's a good point. Although Toronto did so many things.
Yeah, he's like 9-1 or something with them since coming over or something. Sick like that.
Bottom line, end of the day, I'm going to read you some stats.
Oh, boy.
And we're going to talk very briefly about playoffs because I think they're going to kick us out here in a minute.
Okay.
Dodgers versus the 4 playoff teams, presumptive playoff teams. I mean, let's be honest right now. Dodgers versus Cardinals 2-5 versus the Mets 3-4 versus the Pirates 1-5 versus the Cubs 4-3. Overall, they are 10-17 against those 4 playoff teams. Do you have any faith in the Dodgers advancing beyond that first round?
I really don't. And it really comes back to that mystique thing that we were talking about. And, they remind me a lot of the team that went into the playoffs last year,
Yeah.
And
but not coasting as much at the end.
Yeah.
But still.
It's, I'm not very confident going in here. But the one thing being is the Mets, maybe they can be had in the pen. But then you stick in one of those studs back there to shore up that pen.
But then who are you going to get next? You're going to get the Cardinals, the Pirates, possibly the Cubs. I mean, sure. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. The Cardinals or the Pirates, good luck.
Yeah. They can't be looking that far ahead, I guess.
No, they can't.
No.
Other question.
Okay.
If the Dodgers fail this postseason, first off, what is considered failure for them? Not a World Series, not advancing around. And second, would you ever consider firing Mattingly?
I would. I mean, yeah, especially if they don't win a playoff series this year, that's got to be a failure. And they might be even looking at it if they only win one and lose the next one. That could be looked in some eyes as a failure. I think if they win a playoff series, that's a pretty good year for them. I mean, but I don't, Don Mattingly, okay, was always my favorite Yankee. You know why? Never made the playoffs. He made it in his last year. In the first year, I think, of the wild card.
Yeah.
And he did okay, but he was always my favorite Yankee because it brings to mind the golden years of the Yankees when they didn't make the playoffs, like in the 80s. It was just a great time. It was a great time to be a baseball fan.
In Boston.
We weren't winning either, but at least they weren't winning, so it was good. But, so he's not, I don't look at it as a winner. I was cheering for them when the Yankees were either going to go with Girardi or Mattingly. I was like, please Mattingly, because I think Girardi's a good manager. And then they went with them, so the Dodgers got the second guy. You and I are both big Bud Black fans, and he's out there, and he'll be a much better manager than Mattingly.
I am a big Bud Black fan. I was a huge fan for him for the Rockies, but the Rockies are rebuilding, and I think Black is probably the wrong rebuild manager. Black is the turnkey manager where you have a team, and you'd like, here you go, dude, do what you do with a good team. The Dodgers would be an interesting fit for him.
Yes, they would. And, former pitcher, former pitching coach, and talk about some staff that needs some coaching. You'd obviously leave the two studs, and then everybody else needs a lot of coaching up. But, you got to bring up some young guys. It's got to be bolstered by more than just Urias, You got to get... And, if they do not make... if they're one and done in the playoffs, do you blow it up?
Well, that's what I was going to... You're reading my mind.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if they're one and done, or even regardless of what they do, is there any scenario where they wouldn't go after Zach Greinke this offseason if and when he opts out?
Yeah. And what about a crazy idea of keeping Greinke and trading Kershaw?
No.
I mean, how are you going to get these young starters? I mean, I guess you're going to go and, draft and just have to luck out on the draft, I guess. But, I mean, I know it's sacrilege to put it out there. But, I mean, he would get a king's ransom. Somebody would give you a boatload. And especially if he shows up and he's kind of a clunker in the playoffs.
He would get a boatload. I feel like when you have legitimately the two best pitchers in all of baseball, you can't trade that. That next level guy, if the Dodgers had a James Shields or even a David Price or Johnny Cueto like the Reds did, but the Reds are in a different situation, for sure. You can get a lot back or whatever. Yeah. But those top two, oh man. And I think you have to sell out this winter and go and make sure that Greinke comes back. Lock those two down. They're not going to give you 10 more years together, but they can give you 4 or 5 really good ones together, and then Kershaw's a little younger than Greinke. And then after that, then I think you start trading people. I think maybe you start trading Howie Kendrick. You start trading maybe Jock. We've talked about this before. You start trading an exciting young guy. They should have traded Dre last year, and then it turns out they were glad they didn't because they needed Dre. You look at Yasiel Puig this winter, and he may go on the trading block because they may not have a spot for him depending on who else stays.
Right.
There's a lot of guys.
He's coming off a little kind of a subpar year, so you want to make sure you get value in return. For somebody who is as talented. I'd hate to see him go somewhere and absolutely explode.
He will. He's going to explode. Yeah. The question is, what do you get back from him, or do you let him play his value back up next year?
Yeah. I would, look to move Jock.
Jock it is.
Jock it is.
All right, that's it this week on Dodgers Wrap 360. We'll be back next Sunday for the final week of baseball, and really we're just going to be talking playoffs because who the hell cares about the last week of baseball games when you already know you're in the playoffs? He is not on Twitter. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. Show him your phone real quick.
Hey.
That phone is from I was thinking on your camera. He's new in the studio. That phone's from 1950. I'm on Twitter at Bobby DeMuro. You guys can tweet me all time about Dodger baseball. We'll see you a week from today for more Dodgers Wrap 360 right here on AfterBuzz TV. Good night.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AFTERBUZZTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AFTERBUZZ TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.